Jai Hind, dosto. Good evening, friends. I am Major Mohammed Ali Shah, and I have the honor of being in conversation with a wonderful girl. I'm not yet call her a lady. I'll still call you a girl, huh, Simran?
Sounds good,
And with
sir.
a wonderful girl who needs no introduction at all. Well, you will be able to put a face to the name when you most of you would have read the book Cost of War. It is a book which should be read widely, not just in India. There it is. Yes, just show the cover on the lens closer. Yes, Simran, thank you. Thank you so much. So this is the book Cost of War. And if you haven't read this, most of you would have read it. But those who haven't, I would say go right now. Right now, press online. It's available on Amazon and go and book a copy right away. And trust me, you are going to be thanking me for recommending this book further on to you. This was launched last year in May 2022. And thereafter, Simran changed the publisher, and then she had a relaunch as well a few months back. She is a daughter of very, very illustrious parents. Her father, the late Major Randhawa, Kirti Chakra posthumous. He got a Kirti Chakra in 1997 in Jammu Kashmir, safeguarding our national frontiers, guarding our nation from, I would say, dreaded militants. And he sacrificed his life for our today. He gave his tomorrow. And her mother is an illustrious army officer. She is the first war widow to have got commissioned in the army. In 1998, in March 1998, she joined the academy, and as a lady cadet, she went in the month of April to receive the Kirti Chakra on behalf of her late husband. There's something which I always keep saying. I say the martyrs are brave, there's no doubt about that fact. Their families are the bravest. So let's welcome now then a wonderful girl over here, Simran Randhawa. Simran, Jai Hind, and thank you very much for
Thank
taking
you so
out time.
Thank you so much for having me here, sir. The work that you're doing with interacting with all of us, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simran. Very sweet of you to say that. Simran, let's start. I have read about the telephonic conversation with a toy phone you used to have with your father as a small little toddler. I mean, barely about a year old almost, I would say. Let's start about the memory that which you would be having, or what have been told to you, or the pictures that you would be having of your childhood with your father, Simran.
So, to be honest, regarding the childhood, I don't really have my own memories because I lost him when I was a year and a half. All my memories are borrowed memories of what others have told me. I have photos and I have strung together a life, but I think at some point it became more fantastical than real because I have been here longer without him than I was with him, which is my deepest regret. I wish I could have spent just one more day with him, but I think that's the story of anyone who's lost someone ever. I remember when I was younger, my mom wanted to protect me from the world for as long as she could. She didn't want me to grow up and feel the pain that she was already dealing with. So when I was very young, she would always tell me, regardless of what the topic was, she'd always say, "This is something that you'll know once you're older." But she'll give me something to hold on to in the meanwhile. So when I was younger and there were Father's Days, and we were in army area, and I would see a photo of my father, and other fathers around me were right there, but mine wasn't. And although she made it a point to make him a part of my life always, we never talk about him like my father was, because he's still my father even if he's not here. We always talk about him in present tense. Our house is filled with photos of him and stories of him in his laughter. And I always used to be confused about why there's this amazing person in these photos. And everyone I meet him cries about how much they miss him, but he's not here. And at that point, my mom hadn't told me what had happened. She would just hold me over with stories like he's in the army, so he's posted somewhere where he can't call. He's posted somewhere where he's not able to get leave, and I just wanted to talk to him. But if he can't call from those postings, then I'll have make believe conversations when kids are playing with their dolls and having imaginary conversations with princes and Barbie dolls. Mine used to be with my father, who's on a base. And at least in those conversations, he would talk back.
I don't know what to say. I had goosebumps. So the story I read about you, the toy telephone, was when you had grown up slightly, and your mother would make you speak to him that he is posted somewhere far away like that.
He'd just
Am
tell
I
me
right?
that she just tell me that he was posted somewhere, and just that the details will follow once I'm older. She didn't want me to tell me that I have lost my father. Not at that age. I was too young. So she would just tell me that he's away, he'll be back, you'll see him someday. He's there with you always, even if he can't talk to you. So I'll just pick up my toy telephone, the one with that red nose on top of it, and just call him on the base. I had full make believe conversations, believe you me. I would pretend that I'm on the army exchange and they're putting me on hold to get him, and he was there.
My goodness, I'm so deeply moved, Simran. I'm deeply moved. Honestly, I don't have words. And your father has sacrificed his life, I mean, for the nation, and I hope you realize the sacrifices your mother has made for you to bring you up and to where you are sitting today. Today, Simran is a working professional, though I did not introduce her as a young lady. I still see her as a young little 1.5-year-old girl, by the way. And she's doing exceedingly well for herself, exceedingly well. And I'm sure your father must be very, very proud of you, watching you wherever he is. And so let's talk about the book of yours that you wrote, that you launched last year in month of May, and the cost of war. And
Yes.
it was viral all over, especially in the army circle. Especially, there was not a single army WhatsApp group which was not buzzing with your book. So let's talk
Thank
about
you.
this book. Yes, and the inception of this book and the burning of the midnight oil. Because I know my father and my uncle both are authors, both have written their books, so I've seen them penning it down very, very painfully and burning the midnight oil.
Yes.
So let's talk about this book. Yes.
So actually, originally, I didn't want to write the book at all. I did not want my most painful moment to be out in the world, the most vulnerable that I've ever been, out on pages, and the world criticizing it. Because whether we like it or not, with positive criticism, there's always the negative part of it. And I was worried about having something that is so deep and personal to me just out in the world for everyone to see, and I wasn't comfortable with it. But it was my mom who inspired me to do this. She'd always been very vocal about the fact that I have a way with words. She always used to tell me that I can make people feel things with the way that I use my words. And it was her who wanted me to write for such a long time, but I kept backing away. It was not until around 2018 or 19, it was my father's death anniversary on 17th June. And I wrote an article, a small article, one page, that went viral. And that was an article that I was very scared about and very vulnerable about, because you often hear about a martyr's family that Jai Hind, and that's it. You don't hear them say that I would rather have my father back. I understand this victory is important for India, but given the choice, I love my country, but I would rather have my father back. And that's what this book became. It became a story of fallen soldiers' families. You often see us in photo ops with the fallen remains of our family members, but no one thinks about what happens to us after. And in fact, Dr. Anjana Malik, she was at my book launch and she said this thing during her speech that from the army perspective, from the ABA perspective, they think that if you give them pension or scholarship for children, things are okay. But they aren't. There's a part of us that is lost. And that part becomes the cost of war. Because India will have another victory, always. Because we have never lost a war. But we have lost at every war. Because we've lost soldiers. We've lost fathers, brothers, sons, and we will never get them back. So that's this book. It's us, it's our hearts. And everything that we've lost.
My goodness, as you were speaking, I was getting reminded of the Chetwood Credo, the oath which we took in the army, which your father also would have taken, and which says, "The safety, honor, welfare of your country comes first, always, and every time. The
Yes.
honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command comes
Mhm.
next. Your own ease, comfort, and safety comes last, always, and every time."
Yes, sir.
And I've had the honor of getting commissioned in the same regiment as your father, in fact. It may not be the same unit, but he's from 167 field, I'm from 170 field. So it
Yes.
is, and it is, and of course, I mean, at the end of the war, ladies and gentlemen, a mother waits for her son, a daughter or a son waits for their father, a brother waits for his brother, a sister waits for her brother, a father waits for his son, a friend waits for his friend. It is the politicians at the end of the day who shake hands. It's something, and it might look very glamorous in your Hollywood movies or wherever. I mean, it is. Trust me. I mean, it is. I've been in the line of fire. I've led from the front. I know. I mean, Simran's father is a true hero. He's been an inspiration for us. We were told his stories right from the time we grew up. I mean, when we were in academy, we were training. I mean, he was the inspiration, the legendary figure for us. Simran, so tell us, after this book got published, what was the response you got from this book? Since you mentioned you didn't want to write this book and you were scared, you were worried about, anybody would be rightly so,
Of course,
about
sir.
the criticism that would come along. What has been the response thereafter?
So I wouldn't lie and say that there was no criticism. There has been criticism. I often get weird comments on Instagram or Twitter every now and then, but that's part of being in the public eye. There have been criticism in terms of the book itself, but none of that matters to me because there are so many positive responses. There was this woman, I would like to share a small story on it. There was this woman who contacted my mom, who is a war widow herself. We have never met her before. We have no interaction with her. We do not know this person. But she contacted mom just to let her know that I just lost my husband and my son is small. But when he grows up, I will make him read this book so that he feels heard, so that he knows that he's not alone. And that was the point of this book. You often see what happens to a war widow. You see their stories unfold. You see them become soldiers. And I have been so fortunate to have my mom as a role model for me. But what you don't see is what happens to the children. We're expected to just grow up. We're expected to, oh, they are kids. They won't remember what happened. But we remember feeling loss. We remember knowing that there was this person who was supposed to be here, and we have to live the rest of our lives without them. So the fact that there are people like me, and there are so many people like me, which is unfortunate because for the country to be safe, soldiers have to die. And at the end, we're the ones who are left behind. And there are so many children like me. And there are, in fact, children who never even got to meet their parents because they were born after their loss. They know that they are not alone. They have someone around them, even if they don't know me personally, who knows what they've been through. And they have their voice out there. So the fact that that positivity is there, nothing else matters.
I know, Simran, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, a soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves the people who are behind him, who he is protecting. He puts his life at stake. He's totally unmindful of his own personal safety, goes beyond the call of duty many times, like the way Simran's father did. Simran, we are very, very proud of you, your mother, your father. I don't have words, in fact. And I am really feeling very overwhelmed speaking to you. I'm right now. I trust you, me. It is something which is, I mean, the sacrifices, I mean, it is not just of your father, of your mother as well, to raise you up, to make you the wonderful girl that you are today. And you're doing so well because of all the pain, struggle, sacrifice that she has put together for you. So, Simran, and so tell us a bit about your migration outside the country and how you went for a job outside and How has been your struggle otherwise?
So I came here when I was 18 years old for educational purposes. I came here to study psychology, and during COVID, I went back home. That's when I finished this book and got it out into the world. I still had responsibilities here that I had to take care of. So I came here for my job. And what I can say is that I have seen a shift in my personality. Unfortunately, you can see in a lot of people from the younger generation is that their life biggest aim is to move out of India. And unfortunately, I was part of that folly. I just wanted to go out and nothing else. As a young kid, all I knew was it's either army or it's out of India. Like there were two extremes and there was no middle ground for me. And the army part makes sense. It's in my blood, it's who I am. The out of India part, fortunately, the the time that I've spent here, it has been very educational. It has been absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad that I got to grow up in an environment like army that prepared me to be anywhere in the world and still thrive. And I'm glad that I got to become an adult in a different country where I got to make mistakes and I got to learn from my lessons without the society impeding in that process. But I think the best lesson that I've learned from being here is सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. The love that comes back. You, when the Chandrayaan landed, all of us were in tears, and you can't let go of those roots. You learn that when you grow older, and I hope we learn it sooner.
Wow, absolutely. I'll tell us all story to all our viewers. You know, a soldier returns back after a war. I mean, many people are warmongers and they say war, war, and the stage of war. But trust me, what you see on screen in movies is very, very different, something else. So a soldier returns back from a war, and there's media at the airport, shutterbugs and all. Sir, now that you've downed the enemy, how do you feel, sir? You know, the soldier replies, I have just buried my best friend and I've come. So one can well imagine the cost of war, who and what and how we are paid. But then there's another quote. I would like to quote this, which was I've read this in many war memorials. It's written over there. How can a man die better than facing fearful odds, serving the ashes of his fathers in the temples of his gods? So, and anyway, Simran, and we are approaching 18 minutes. 18 minutes is a time for TED, in fact, you know. So tell me tomorrow, if you get a
Yes, sir.
call from TED,
Yes,
not
sir.
TEDx, TED.
Mhm.
So what is it you would like to speak on?
So I would like to speak of my parents. Everything that I am today is because of them. Everything that ever will be is because of them. I'm here because of what my father sacrificed, the kindness that he imparted on me, the selfless bravery that he imparted on me and others. Because of his sacrifices, men are alive today. Because I lost my father, someone else has theirs. And my mother, who's my inspiration for everything that I do. That saying, strong women raise strong women. That's what this is. I know that I can do anything in my life because she has taught me that I can do anything in my life. And I hope that the world can take a lesson from what I have learned from them because the world will be richer for it.
Very well said by you. I'm so touched and so moved by your thoughts and by what you have said. And on that note, Simran, I know you're getting late and you also have to go for work, and you've been very kind to take out time for me early in the morning, because early morning for you, it's getting
Yes.
late over here. And I would like to leave and say adieu to you with a quote once again for all our viewers, which is dedicated to your father, which I read at the Kohima World War Cemetery when I was posted in Kohima with the Assam Rifles. So I'm also a gunner, I'm also an RT officer.
So that was my
And
first
since your father got
introduction to
to
you.
Rifle Rifles, I got to the Assam Rifles.
Yes, sir.
So there will be over there. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Thank you very much, Simran, and God bless you, beta. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Jai Hind.
Yes, sir.